It's Monday, September 9th, 2024, and this is the Climate One audio newsletter. I'm producer Austin Colon.
And I'm producer Megan Basilia.
Check out the latest Climate One episode, Cheaper, Faster, Better, Tom Steyer on winning the climate war. Tom Steyer rose to public prominence as the billionaire investor and climate organizer who ran for president in the 2020 election on a climate-first platform. And while he didn't secure the Democratic nomination, his dedication to supporting and advocating climate solutions has remained steadfast. In his new book, Cheaper, Faster, Better, How We'll Win the Climate War, Steyer argues that we are in a defining moment. We face the daunting existential threat of climate change, yet with this great challenge comes a great opportunity for innovation, global leadership, and economic growth. But can capitalism, the system that helped create and exacerbate the climate crisis, be the system that fixes climate chaos? Listen now on climateone.org or wherever you get your pods.
And if you're in the Bay Area and want to join us for a live recording of Climate One, then listen up, because we have 3 upcoming events with some very exciting guests. On September 16th at 6 p.m., environmental icon Jane Goodall returns to Climate One to reflect back on her life's work. She'll also talk about how we can heal our relationship with nature by better understanding ourselves. She'll be joined by Greg and Rhett Butler, founder of the nonprofit media organization Manga Bay. That's at the Sidney Goldstein Theater on Monday, September 16th.
And that same week, on Wednesday, we'll be joined by Justin Pearson. You may know Justin as one of the legislators who was kicked out of the Tennessee House for protesting in support of common-sense gun regulation. He's also a strong advocate for climate and environmental justice. The Sierra Club recognized him as the 2023 National Changemaker of the Year. He'll talk about all that and more with Greg at the Commonwealth Club. That's Wednesday, September 18th.
And on October 1st, we'll be joined on stage by marine biologist Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson, Third Act founder Bill McKibben, and Earth Justice President Abigail Dillon. It's easy enough to look around and see signs of current climate destruction and future climate doom, but Dr. Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson asks us instead to focus on the question, what if we get it right? Johnson, McKibben, and Dillon have all dedicated their lives to saving all they can. In their different ways, through science, public education, and legal action, they've been at the forefront of enacting solutions at the nexus of science, policy, and justice. Conservation is an ongoing struggle, and Johnson, McKibben, and Dillon recognize that it will take all of us, not just scientists and lawyers, but farmers and financiers, architects, and advocates, with all our diverse skills to get us through to the other side of the present existential crisis. Join Climate One co-host Ariana Brocious in what's sure to be an inspiring live conversation with Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson, Bill McKibben, and Abigail Dillon. You can get tickets at climateone.org.
And here's what we're reading this week. A dire report from the United Nations World Meteorological Organization, or the WMO, warns that climate change poses an exceptional risk to Africa. The continent is warming at a faster rate than the rest of the world and is uniquely situated to bear the brunt of a wide variety of intensifying natural disasters, such as droughts, cyclones, and floods. European colonizers maintained their unjust rule over many African nations for far longer than much of the rest of the world, leaving many countries under colonial rule until the 1970s and unable to make the infrastructure and economic investments needed to cope with the climate crisis. Despite emitting by far the least amount of carbon of any world region, the WMO predicts that the climate emergency already cost the 54 African nations 5% of their total economic output. Diplomats and scientists from across the continent gathered in Abidjan last week to strategize ahead of COP29, the global climate summit in Baku, with a focus on ensuring Africa receives a more equitable share of global climate financing. The extreme biodiversity of the continent necessitates myriad approaches to mitigating the effects of climate change. The climate solutions needed to combat the rapid shrinkage of Lake Chad are different from those needed to stem the loss of urban water supplies in Johannesburg, as are those necessary to preserve the Congo Basin rainforests. One bright spot is the multinational effort to build the Great Green Wall, which is by far the world's largest land preservation project. The program has already saved 44 million acres from desertification, but urgent cash inflows are needed to stem the spread of the Sahara.
And here are some other headlines we're keeping an eye on. From the Washington Post, Typhoon Yagi, one of 2024's most powerful storms, makes landfall on China. From Penn Capital Star, workers say Pittsburgh area battery plant is union busting. From Cal Matters, will the 2028 Olympics create lasting benefits for Los Angeles? From ABC News, salmon will soon freely swim in the Klamath River for the first time in a century.
All right, let's connect the dots. Ford announced a reduction in electric vehicle production, including the cancellation of an all-electric SUV and a delay of certain electric trucks and van models. The company cited flagging EV demand and the need to produce more hybrids, which are sold better than all-electric vehicles, as the reasons behind the shift in production. The change in strategy puts Ford at risk of falling short of the stricter emissions reduction thresholds passed by the Biden administration, with risk even greater in markets like the European Union and California, with more strident regulations. Can the automobile industry deliver an all-electric future? Climate One's conversation with Cynthia Williams, Global Director of Sustainability for Ford, breaks down this crucial conundrum. Look for our episode titled Electrify Everything at climateone.org or wherever you get your pods.
One more thing. Climate One now offers an ad-free listening experience. For just $5 a month, our Patreon supporters receive access to each and every new release, completely free of ads. Your subscription powers our weekly efforts to keep bringing you high-quality conversations on the climate crisis. You can sign up at climateone.org. And that's it for this week's Climate One audio newsletter. Heads up, we'll be out for the next 2 weeks for a team retreat and to focus on a special secret project that we're working on. We'll be with you again on the 30th. Thanks for listening.